A 3-year investigation looking back all the way to the 1930s is complete.
Attorney General Doug Peterson laid out the findings in the Clergy Sexual Abuse Report. And Channel 8's Ariana Martinez joins us now with how many victims came forward during this investigation and what many are hoping will change. Ariana?
Yes, one of the primary purposes of this investigation was to determine whether any perpetrators of sexual abuse could still be charged for their crimes. The investigation found there were no allegations of clergy sexual abuse which were still able to be prosecuted due to the statute of limitations. Even though investigators were not necessarily shocked with what they found, hearing these stories and not being able to bring justice for those victims has not been easy. 158 victims from Nebraska came forward. 97 of the 158 were victims in the Lincoln Diocese.
In some ways, this is a feeble attempt to have their voices be heard. But it's so frustrating that, yes, your voice can be heard, but we're not able to bring you criminal resolution.
There were at least 2 victims in attendance. We talked to Stacy, who didn't want to give her last name, and understandably so, didn't want to go into detail about her abuse. They did say, though, hearing these results brought everything from sorrow to frustration.
When this investigation started, I decided it was time to use my voice and to help others, too.
In the Lincoln Diocese, there were 14 different church leaders in the report. 6 of them have since died, 3 had their faculties revoked, 3 were laicized, which means they were stripped of their duties, 1 retired, 1 spent time in a military prison, and 3 have unknown whereabouts.
My voice wasn't heard at all back when it happened. So it's time.
Within the state of Nebraska, we have to establish a culture that children are more important than any institution, whether church, whether school, whether any organization that holds themselves out to care for children.
Victims were able to call a hotline established 3 years ago. For some, it was the first time they ever reported it to anyone. The first reported case was in the 1930s.
A lot of times it's such a painful psychological scar, and I actually encourage anyone who might be listening who's dealt with it and has not come out and spoken with someone that you need to do that.
The investigation may be closed, but the Attorney General said it's not over. If you have experienced child abuse, the Nebraska Child Abuse Hotline is 1-800-652-1999.
You've got support. You've got a lot of support. There's a lot of us out here, and just know that you're not alone.
One state senator is working on getting rid of the statute of limitations for victims of child sexual abuse before 2004. After the news conference, each bishop from the Nebraska's 3 dioceses in Lincoln, Omaha, and Grand Island released a joint statement saying in part, "It is clear that the hurt is still felt, even if the abuse was perpetrated many years ago. We apologize to the victims and their families for the pain, betrayal, and suffering that never should have been experienced in the church." End quote.
All right. Thank you so much, Ariana.